Humanity's Final Words to Heaven and Hell by Farmwitch 4275. The smog of the city hung heavy in the air, a strange malaise of calm and quiet permeating every alley and doorway. Not a single soul could be seen among the emptied streets, mostly stray cats and random dogs roaming free. They are staying abed for the coming events. Good, Gabriel said to himself as he looked from heaven. Good. They are preparing for the coming harvest, Lucifer said to himself as he stared at his view from hell. Both denizens of heaven and hell, respectively, pressed their metaphorical big red buttons, and then came the rapture. The doom began, the last day. The skies of earth darkened, glowing red with hatred as the fire and brimstone of God's wrath began to fall from the heavens. Meteors impacted skyscrapers, and debris crashed into surrounding structures in a blazing inferno. The waters of the ocean rose to staggering heights, swamping entire cities along every coastline. Diseases so potent came from the miasma of the pre-dawn haze that they began to rust and erode the structures around them. Cities collapsed, cars were flung miles away, and tornadoes of every category ravaged places where they had never been before. Hurricanes, the likes of which had never been seen, shattered coastlines. Earthquakes split the land open, and volcanoes spilled magma across the world. The gates of heaven and hell opened, and the denizens of both realms spilled forth, beginning their final war. Earth had fallen. Her blade struck hard and true as the angel fought a group of demons. Their numbers were no match for her skill, and holy blade and claws were severed from arms. Demon blood spilled into the empty streets as she cleaved a glorious path through the armies of Satan's monsters. Her blade swung to the right, cutting clean through a bus in the street, but also cleaving a devil's body in two. He screamed as he clawed his way from her, only to have his head stomped by her mighty boot. Clearly outmatched, the remaining demons panicked and ran, calling for reinforcements. The angel stood her ground. "Stand and fight, you worthless cowards," she yelled after them. She scoffed and moved to inspect the damage. A car had been cut in half, a bus in the middle of the street had half its roof cleaved off, and a building had collapsed as she had thrown a demon into its front, crushing the fiend under debris. She raised her wings and flapped hard, launching herself toward a nearby city square. The battle around her dispersed to further locations as the sounds of war grew distant. Skyscrapers collapsed in the distance. The world around her descended into an eerie, strange quiet. With the excitement and adrenaline of war wearing off, she felt, for the first time since her descent to Earth, the sensation of Earth's green grass and cool air. She took stock of her surroundings and noticed how far mankind had come since she last saw Earth's dirt and rock. Long gone were the days of wooden constructions. She marveled at the neon signs and concrete skyscrapers. How desperately did they want to get to heaven that they built so high, she thought aloud to herself. She moved through the empty streets, seeing devastation but no bodies. No human corpses lay strewn about. She dismissed the concern, assuming the demons had eaten the bodies, as demons always do. Slowly, she moved through the shattered city as the sounds of battle grew ever more distant. The more she looked around, the more her concern grew. Something here doesn't add up. Where was everyone? Where were the pools of blood? Where were the scattered piles of bones? Where were the screams? Humans are very hard to kill. She listened carefully. Only the sounds of chirping birds, squealing cats, and the pattering feet of the occasional stray dog could be heard. She was sure there would be at least one yell for help. Or something. Anything. "Hello? Is there anybody here?" she called aloud. Nothing but silence. She noticed how some parts of the city were overgrown. One or two buildings had vines creeping up their sides. Decoration, perhaps? "Hello? Is there anyone here?" she yelled again, her voice tinged with desperation. Her voice echoed across the empty city, reverberating through the abandoned streets. The only response to her cries was the scattering of cats, dogs, and birds startled by her shout. Confusion filled her mind as she flew skyward to get a broader view. Her eyes scanned the horizon. Smoke rose from neighboring cities. Fields of grass were burned black, and the air was thick with smoke. Through the destruction, she spotted a series of strange structures in the distance. She flew toward them with all haste, noticing that some human machinery still appeared to be operating. She ignored several demons and angels fighting in the skies as she zoomed past them. She landed on the ground, surrounded by a factory of some kind. To her eyes, it was an abomination of nature. Mechanical arms and robotic machinery moved and switched about, grabbing metal plates, inserting them into machines that spat out cogs, wheels, and parts. These parts were then fed into other machines that belched fire and produced even more complex components. She saw hope, power, energy, complexity. This meant there was something, or someone, still out there. A human, perhaps, trying to build a means to defend themselves. She renewed her resolve and engaged a nearby demon in battle. Suddenly, the war around her came to a halt as the sound of rocket engines roared to life. The factory stopped its operations. The demons and angels within range of the factory ceased their combat and watched in awe as one of mankind's creations roared into the skies, piercing the veil and vanishing into the heavens. Gabriel and Lucifer both watched in stunned awe as the massive ship entered the dark void above Earth and disappeared from the star system. The battle across the globe paused as the sudden revelation spread. In the skies above every city, a hologram of a man clad in resplendent scarlet and silver robes appeared, his voice booming and distorted by a mask. "Sons and daughters of heaven and hell, I welcome you to Earth. Or at least, what's left of it. We knew of your coming long ago and simply accepted it." Tales were long told of the last days, the days when the faithful would go to heaven and the damned would remain on Earth, only for the world to finally fall. Boiling seas, falling skies. For centuries, we languished under your gaze. But as time went on, life changed. We began to see the power of the machine and to dream of things beyond our world. We gazed at the stars as our lives improved. We lived longer, loved deeper, and realized we were beyond your reach, beyond your time, beyond you. And thus, we came to the ultimate realization. We were no longer God's greatest creation. We had been reduced to little more than currency, our lives and souls exchanged for payments, our existence little more than something to be bargained for by shadows and ghosts. Our value in this life had become how much your two sides could gain from our deaths. We were no longer lives, but objects to be fought over. Our screams in hell became less about avoiding the trappings of sin and more a resource for the monsters to exploit. The more we searched for answers, the more we understood that there weren't any. We were created solely to be resources for demons and angels to fight over. We looked at you, then at ourselves, and we became disgusted. We had become like you. Wars over oil and territory were doing nothing but fueling your machine. We had enough. It is true that no man knows the day or the hour, so all we could do was wait. Then came a revelation. We put human footprints on the moon and realized there was something far more than this life. Something to look forward to, something to explore, something that wasn't you. We found the void of space, an infinite universe far beyond your rule. And so, we endeavored to reach it. And as you can see, we did. We diverted all our efforts away from worrying about you and toward building our future. And so here we are at the end of days, laughing as the so-called masters of the universe pointlessly fight each other over an empty rock. We are humanity. For your crimes against us, torture, slavery, insanity, murder, we hereby condemn you, heaven and hell, to spend the remainder of eternity fighting each other over this pointless rock. Goodbye, and fuck you. With that, the last human voice on Earth fell silent as the machines around them powered down. The reactors failed, the fuel ran dry, and the power grid shut down. All of human industry and the city gasped its last breath. Everything turned dark. Earth had been completely abandoned by God's creation. Nature took its course, and the battle resumed. As humanity had envisioned, heaven and hell resumed their eternal war over mankind's cradle. Meanwhile, humanity prospered in ways never before believed possible. No gods, no kings, only man. To this day, the long-lost armies of heaven and hell continue to fight each other over Mother Earth's shattered corpse as mankind watches from the void, laughing all the while. The end. Like and subscribe for more content.